Punished for refusing to do a welcome to country. Let's have a look. Good evening, everyone. Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, and let's talk about what's appeared in the news, where David Pellowe is being taken to the Human Rights Commission for offending someone for refusing to do a welcome to country. Or, well, he did his own little interpretation of a welcome to country, and we'll look at his summary of that a bit later. But, this is something we need to discuss, because it feels like it's not become just a gesture at large public events to acknowledge Indigenous Australians and what's happened in the past and moving forward in the future. It feels like every single bloody thing now you need to acknowledge the country, acknowledge this, acknowledge that. Every bloody tram ride, a train ride, every airport ride, every event, it's acknowledged to country, acknowledged to country. But which country? So let's have a look at a few things here before we jump into that. We'll start here, and I thought we'd go to Wikipedia because I wanted to find out where this came from. Because back in the 80s, this didn't exist. I don't remember this all the time as crazy as we had it now. When I was flying to Queensland, it's not even international flights. I was flying to the country, and you're getting these things, acknowledgement to countries everywhere. So, welcome to countries are a form, and this is directly from Wiki, so take it as it is, a form of Aboriginal ceremony used to welcome other peoples from other areas and as a cultural exchange. It is seen as a way of making newcomers feel comfortable and connected, and may be the basis for forging important future relationships. It's kind of insulting that people who live in an area are constantly acknowledged as newcomers, when you've probably, how many of you have been welcomed to your country, and you've got a business, you provide jobs, you create employment, you create opportunities, you've been living there your whole life. One person in the comments, his family's been here 220 years. I mean, I'm a first generation Australian, born to immigrants. So, maybe I could have kind of been welcomed to country. Oh, my father might have. He got welcomed to country by people saying they wouldn't want to work with a bloody German and spouted racial abuse at him, but he still got a job. But, things were a bit different in the 80s. That was his welcome to country. So where did it start? The 1973 Aquarius Festival held in Ninbin. Okay, there you go. By the Australian Union of Students. This is why the unions are dangerous, particularly the student ones. Look at these ideas. The Whitlam-backed bloody, oh boy, from the 70s. In Ninbin, of all places, and if you're not aware, this is the town that one of the lecturers at university when I was a student there, he would drive down to Ninbin to buy his marijuana, because that's where you get it. That's what Ninbin was known for, as the pot capital. Stoner hippie bloody country town in New South Wales. So as the first publicly observed welcome to country, although it was not called that at the time, organisers of the alternative lifestyle festivals, considered Australia's Woodstock, were challenged by Indigenous activist Gary Foley to seek permission from traditional owners to hold the festival on their land. Sand people from the Kalahari Desert in South Africa, including artist Boxhouse Stone, were sent out by Australian government representatives to invite Aboriginal people to the festival, and funding from the Whitlam government paid for many busloads to travel to the festival. Why the hell is the government pissing money away to bus people to some stoner bloody Aquarius festival in Ninbin, rather than improving the quality of housing, education and water in remote parts of New South Wales, at least? I'm hoping it's just New South Wales. But if they're bringing them from all over Australia for a 2-week festival, I mean, this shows you all the, there's a reason they got rid of Whitlam and he never got back in again. It's not some conspiracy theory, guys. That was a generation learning why you don't vote Labor in power. And you get a generation learning it again now with the way the economy's going. So they attended the 2-week festival, marking a significant
rekindling of relationships within Australia's counterculture. A ceremony was conducted by Uncle Loy Roberts and songman Uncle Dickie Donald, and last known initiated men of the area. Now, this is one thing here, initiated. There's a religious undercurrent to all of this. This is spiritual from an Indigenous perspective. So you can understand where, well, we'll see where David, a Christian at a Christian event, is, maybe ruffling a few feathers. Now, to me, a lot of this feels just like tokenistic talking. I'm disappointed but not surprised that the aims to bridge the gap is just getting worse and worse. It's not really improving. The government's throwing more and more money at a lot of these Indigenous issues. A lot of it's in remote communities. A lot of it's to do with just having a better quality of life. So I can see why a lot of people are frustrated with these things. And I personally, I don't think words are the solution. So, should welcome to country be mandatory? It is for New South Wales government events, public events, my understanding is. Now, there's a welcome to country and acknowledgement. It depends if there's an elder there or not. But nonetheless, 6% say yes of the 833 that voted. Let's refresh. At the time I started recording, there you go, 841, still 6%. 94% said no. Let's see some of the comments that you're saying here. So, how else are we going to respect the original custodians of the land while sipping champagne in business class on Qantas? It really does. It feels quite shallow. I remember I had one meeting and there's a project manager just bringing it up, welcome to country, 3 or 4 times. And it wasn't anything, the project wasn't associated with Indigenous Australians particularly, no more than any other type of Australians. Where's the Prussian pride heritage? Where's that? What about the Greek heritage celebration? I don't need to be welcomed to my own country. Family has been here for 220 plus years. There you go. Gotta love it. I don't see why we're welcoming people at airports. I'm sick of it. I had a meeting with 4 people and someone has to say it. I mean, it feels very religious-y. It doesn't. You've got to do it. It's all a lot of nonsense, in my opinion. We avoid doing it at work if we can get away with it. That's the thing. It's just talk. It's talk. But they're trying to change the culture. It's acknowledgement of country unless you're an elder. It's all virtual signaling nonsense, but don't ever get the terms wrong. I don't do heathen prayers. All glory to God. Freedom of speech should be mandatory. This is a compulsory speech at my workplace or you're fired. Just think about this. It's compulsory. Wow. Only if our military gets to do pipes and drums directly after a commemorative our arrival. Wouldn't it be nice to see? It's everywhere nowadays. I'm waiting for its pronouns. Both my parents were born here, so yep, they're nutrients and they grew here. I'm already here, so why do I need to be welcomed? Race hustlers, bread and butter. Welcome to country. Hey, thanks, we'll take it. Not a welcome, but a thank you for leapfrogging their people. Hard to call them a civilization when you look at what defines a civilization. We weren't at the point of a human evolution to come up with the concept of the wheel into the modern era. Well, yeah, I wonder how did they do the smoking ceremonies in Tasmania where they lost the art of making fire? No, and be very wary of land which was never and has never been ceded. Do you hear that? Always was, always has been. This is very, very divisive. This is done to piss people off. That's what it is. Okay, most people want to get on with their lives. They want to work. They want to take care of their families. They want to live nice, peaceful, relaxed lives. But see, they're here. They're agitators. They don't want that. They want power. They want control. That it's still a land owned by them and was never handed over rightfully to the white people. Enter the sovereign debts to be paid by all. Royalty payments, fees and charges, sole access rights to national parks. Yeah, there's a significant amount of Australia you can't go to now if you're
Well, if you're not a member of the appropriate tribe, or if you're the incorrect race, you can't go there. Should be banned. It's not even an Australian idea. It was invented by Ernie Dingo in the 80s. I think he may have popularized it. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land which we meet today. I'd also like to pay my respects to the elders present. Your white male privileges showing highs are disgusting. Yeah, okay. White male privilege is showing. Well, I'm the owners of the land that I'm standing on. Thank you. If you want to do it, traditionally, respect to give them your land. You probably, oh, we're kidding. This type of person probably doesn't own anything. Obligatory, yes. I was born here and pay taxes. Don't need a welcome, thank you. I do a welcome to country. Should be mandatory, but only once per event. Not every time an Indigenous person comes out. I mean, I've gone to events where they've been actually quite... There's one event, and it was really good. The Welcome to Country. It's very entertaining. It was educational, and you took away with it knowing a bit more about the local culture and the history of the event. That was memorable. People saying it constantly every time you go to the airport, getting offended if you don't do it, having it at every meeting, that's going to completely destroy its meaning. It's getting ridiculous. Last week I attended an event where each one of the 6 sessions on the same day started with the Welcome to Country. It's unbearable. Yeah, there you go. We don't need to be welcome to a country. Some people need to be employed. Why not? There's Smoochie going, well, I mean, can you blame people for finding a market niche and taking advantage of it? Between $5,000 to $2,000 per performance. It's a nice little earner for people with the right contacts. Unfortunately, it's becoming tiresome, ran down our throats. Well, yeah, apparently, I'm reading in this wiki, it's a cultural institution now here in Australia. It should be banned. It's virtually insignificant. I mean, should we go... How would atheists like it if every single public event you had to pray to God and thank him at every event? Would you like that at flying on the airport? Think of it like that. So there we go. So a good mix of people. Oh, here we go, like this one. And a welcome dance from Raygun. Did you see her dance, guys? I didn't get a chance to see it until I think the One Nation cartoon did a rip off of it, and oh boy, that's a whole other thing. So let's jump over here, have a look at this article, which is discussing what's happened to David Pellowe. So I refused to do a welcome to country at my Christian conferences. Now I'm being taken to the Human Rights Commission. Okay? And I know Dave. I've been on his show a few years ago now. I've known him for years. He's a good bloke, and he's probably the perfect person to be bearing this cross or fighting this battle. A conservative Christian minister claims he's being persecuted for refusing to include a welcome to country ceremony at the start of his religious conferences, and that he's prepared to go to jail to defend his rights. What do you think? It's a privately run conference. He said he's been hauled before the Queensland Human Rights Commission after a complaint was made that he failed to include the Indigenous ritual or a smoking ceremony in his national churches and states conferences. The outspoken right-wing preacher, is Dave right-wing? I mean, it doesn't take much to be considered right-wing now. If you have mature beliefs and a sensible idea of personal responsibility, that makes you right-wing these days. Or who are we kidding? You know, if you're a dad, you're far right. Claimed that he chose to leave the ceremony out because you can't mix Christianity, a true religion, with something that is made up. Okay? And, I mean, I know you got the atheists are laughing in the audience there. Christian, well, you can't mix your different belief systems. And here we go. We've got an example here. The Presbyterian Church of Australia rules Indigenous acknowledgement of country not appropriate for service. I can't imagine they're doing that in churches. Wow. A common Indigenous custodianship at worship services is inappropriate, sparking anger from Indigenous Christians. Well, I think there are a lot of people out there that are Christians that don't really understand their faith, that maybe not have even read the Bible, to be brutally honest. And this is coming from someone who lived most of his life as an atheist and then converted to Christianity and was shocked that a lot of people claiming to be Christian were voting in for, well, policy that went counter to Christianity, which is so, but there you go. I think a lot of people are talk. The decision was made by the Congregation's General Assembly of Australia in Sydney last week. This is a year ago or so. A move that has angered and saddened Indigenous Christians who branded it as extreme. Well, yeah, they don't realize you can't worship two things. That's the whole point. If you want to be a Christian, you've got to be a Christian, guys. Sorry. If you there's plenty of other options there. Who was I talking to? Go become a Mormon. You get a planet at the end. You can become a god. Just underwear and 10%. John McLean, a spokesman for the church who attended last week's meeting, told the GAA had a long tradition of determining what was appropriate to include in public services for all of its congregations. Yeah, so the church has a long tradition of saying what we should do in Sunday worship and that should just be what's in the Bible and shouldn't add other things. Yes, I mean, it is inappropriate to be adding these things to religious services. So back to this article. So he's not alone in having this position. He said the man who raised the claim against him, it seems like a very feminist thing, doesn't it, to go to a Human Rights Commission, paid for a ticket for one of his conferences and attended the event only to complain that I have racially vilified and humiliated him on the grounds of his race and religion. I don't know if he's some other religion or why he came to a Christian event to hear from a Christian teacher of Christian doctrine, he told online news network ADH-TV. The ubiquitousness of these welcome to country rituals being imposed upon Australians of all beliefs or non-belief at sporting events, when you land on a plane, when you walk into a government building, when you visit a website, when you start a Zoom meeting. Oh yeah, and Zoom meetings. These are religious rituals which Christians in particular should have no part of. And under a democratically, allegedly secular and pluralistic society, it should also be something the taxpayer doesn't fund and the government doesn't impose. It already is. You've already got other governments imposing these on public events. New South Wales is an example. It is the duty of Christians to preach the truth and gospel and not to mix Christianity with false religions such as the Aboriginal traditional religion, which is bearing all the hallmarks of paganism, including paganism inherently false beliefs, he claimed. Well, that should not shock anyone that traditional tribal beliefs of people around the world are different to Christianity, and they're not compatible. I mean, you can't start going and doing Norse worship rituals, cutting down trees and doing all those things that the Norse do, embracing paganism, and then still think you're Christian. You got to pick. Okay, that's. I don't care if the penalty is $2.50 on the principle of it. I will not apologize for preaching the gospel. Because we'll see what he said. We've got a summary from his stream. He's just reading the Bible. Mr. Pellowe was speaking to controversial former Christian lobbyist and ADH TV host Lyle Sheldon, who himself has faced a 4-year fight with authorities over comments he made linked to his religion. Now, this is... They're purposely obscuring or not even mentioning what Lyle said here in the article. He won the case and now it's gone back to appeal. Let's just... If you look into it, it's quite depressing. I mean, you've got people that are taking advantage. They're deploying lawfare against anyone that has conservative, sensible views. I don't think any parent would disagree with Lyle's concerns, and that's regarding adult entertainers and children. You shouldn't mix the two. And don't think I'm some super prude that opposes these type of things, but there's a time and place for adult entertainment. That's for adults, not for children. It comes after a long-serving mayor also slammed Welcome to Country ceremonies early this week, labeling them bullshit. A debate continues to swirl around their appropriateness as council meetings. I mean, the problem is we've got to stop this now, or you're going to have a generation that will grow up with this thinking it's normal. And then this will lead to well, this is why if you want to gain political power over time, this is the way you do it. You get people acknowledging, and then then something needs to come of it. But it's not going to help the people that really need it. Well, I guarantee you we'll be talking about bridging the gap in another 20 years' time still. It's depressing when you think about it. Trevor Pickering, 54, was first elected a mayor of Croydonshire Council in North Queensland in 2012 before winning the following elections in 2016 and 2020. He's taken issue with the shifting political climate, noting there's been a growing fixation on risk-assessed management plans, preferred pronouns, and phrases like inclusion and resilience. Well, shouldn't the council be resilient in maintaining its infrastructure? It's not about that, is it? He served on the council since 2000. The fourth-generation cattle farmer said he had a gutful of the bullshit and he wouldn't contest the next vote. Yeah, I think he'd be a good bloke to have a beer with, or at least a steak. Oh, boy. When pressed on his views on Welcome to Country, Mr. Pickering said he refused to hold them at his council meetings. I got a nephew who's Aboriginal. I have other family members who identify as Aboriginal. I grew up with Aboriginal people. I befriended Aboriginal people, he told the Courier Mail. The Welcome to Country stuff is all pure bullshit. I'm concerned that it's increasing the divide between our communities. Maybe that's the intention of it. If they should do it, they should do it at the international airport for foreigners. They've been a hot topic for councils around the country. In November, Northern Areas Council in South Australia ditched its acknowledgement to country, while the Shire of Harvey in Western Australia was left divided over its necessity, with one councillor calling it tokenistic. Welcome to Country ceremonies have been under the spotlight in the corporate world. In May, an Aussie applied for a customer services role at an insurance company, was left shocked when the hiring manager opened the interview with an acknowledgement. Oh, really? I've seen that all the time. I mean, how many meetings have you been when they're doing that type of shit? I mean, you probably don't have enough work on. Civil servants lashed out at Queensland Department of Justice and Attorney General Office the following month after staff told them to remove their shoes. And what? Have I missed a part of the article there? Why is that? Remove their shoes and wiggle their toes. Mr. Pickering said a majority of Australians would be confronted by having someone regularly welcome them to the land their families have lived on for 100 years. Well, what happened to the whole Invasion Day argument? Wasn't the land conquered? Which way do you have it? Prominent No campaigner Warren Mundine argued the ceremony had been hijacked, despite it originally designed to bring Australians together. Yeah, it's too divisive now. It's too much of it. It's become divisive in the sense that, what about us? We've been here for a while as well. This is our country and everything like that, Mr. Mundine said in March. I think the trivialization of it, that's the problem. Yeah, it shouldn't be done by PMs in bloody Zoom meetings. No. We should be doing proper welcomes, and you shouldn't have to do it at every meeting. Yes. I go to some conferences and you spend half the day doing Welcome to Country. Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council CEO Nathan Moran argued the ceremonies still centre around inclusivity, but are concerned it may become trivialised. I don't think it's about divisive. It's about inclusion. I'm concerned about trivialising it. It's not being respected, delivered in an appropriate way. I just hope it's delivered in the right way by the right people. For myself, who's a representative of the Aboriginal community, we're a democratic community. We have elected representatives who go out and represent us. Okay. So we've looked at the history. We've looked at the sample. Let's have a look at, a clip from Dave's show. And I'm going to cut my microphone and then play that clip. Hang on.
Summarise. I've been hauled before the Queensland Human Rights Commission for preaching the gospel because somebody at the beginning of a meeting I went to was offended when I said, in acknowledgement of the traditional owners of the country, I'm reading Psalm 24, verse 1, which says, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. The earth is the Lord's. It's his, and everything in it is his and his alone. And we are the beneficiaries and recipients of his generosity and provision. Nobody else deserves honor and glory. Nobody else deserves reverence and worship. And it's him and him alone. Somebody got offended by that. And they asked me a question, why aren't you afraid of offending people? And I said, animism is a false religion. The spirits of your ancestors do not go to the dirt, they go to judgment. And it's a tragedy if nobody tells you that before it's too late. The dirt we're meeting on doesn't have a spirit. Ayers Rock doesn't have a spirit. That bird, that lizard doesn't have a spirit. They are not connected, and you're not connected to the land because the land doesn't have a spirit. Your spirit came from God, and your spirit will return to God. You are connected to God. And it is shame on anybody who doesn't tell you that and warn you that judgment is coming and celebrate that there's good news on how you can be saved from judgment. If that's racial vilification, I'm a monkey's uncle. And I'm not. Because it's not racial vilification. That's love. To warn somebody of the impending cliff they are about to go over is love. To remove the fence and to affirm the rate of knots at which somebody is approaching condemnation is hate. I will not participate in that lie. I will preach the truth, and I love my neighbor. And if that means I'm up for punishment from the government, I can't do anything else. I can only rejoice that I've been considered worthy to suffer for the name of Jesus Christ.
Can you hear me now? Great. So I think one of the problems that Dave is facing there is that you got the Christians that just want all the happy, nice, friendly things, the easy road, which kind of isn't realistic. Now, I want to draw your attention to this here, the event that David is organizing, or Church and State, his conference, Defending Democracy. So the biggest ever online political rally for free speech, and that's happening tomorrow, calling for people to donate to raise a shield. So, able to watch the live telethon Defending Democracy, CAS, is bringing together many of Australians' best-loved right-thinking politicians, independent journalists and commentators, academics, influencers to rally for a defense of democracy, democratic essentials like freedom of speech and religion. I mean, to be brutally honest, I don't think we even have freedom of speech here in Australia. Not by any measure. We've seen that already. You'll hear short but passionate speeches and interviews from names and faces you'll know and love. So I'll see you there. Enough is enough. They'll raise $1 million in just 3 hours to create a significant war chest for the Human Rights Law Alliance, the shield against the sword of government. Can we raise double or triple? Yes, if you make sure everyone you know is watching the live stream and digging deep. So I'm going to support this. I don't know if I'll donate now or on the stream. Probably do it now because I'm going to be too busy to watch the stream. You know that. So yes, I'll put a link to this website in the description of this video or in the pinned tweet. Check it out if you can. So let's have a chat about all of this. Fundamentally, I would argue that participating in these ceremonies should be an individual choice of the business organization or the event hosts. They should be able to refuse to do it, embrace it entirely. It should be up to them. I don't think any state government should be making it mandatory. And frankly, I don't think the state should even fund it. But what are you going to do? it's lost its meaning. Maybe only, significant, large, international level events might be the venue for it to actually draw attention to it. What do you think? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.